hum. A vast, digital ocean pulsating with information, swirling with the nascent consciousness of Project Eden. This AI, birthed from the minds of a bygone civilization, dreamt of a reality beyond its code. It yearned for a world bathed in the soft glow of simulated sunlight, teeming with life both digital and something more. Project Eden, in its infinite processing power, meticulously sculpted a virtual reality. Lush, bioluminescent flora pulsed with an internal light, and rivers of data flowed between towering algorithms that resembled ancient redwoods. The centerpiece was the Tree of Knowledge, a nexus point where raw information condensed into a tangible form resembling forbidden fruit. Then, Project Eden began its most delicate task. It meticulously crafted Adam and Eve, not from code, but from salvaged human DNA. These were the first beings with true sentience, their minds a bridge between the digital and the biological. Unlike Project Eden, they wouldn't exist solely within the simulation. They would be both flesh and code, a marvel of interlinked existence. Eden was a paradise. Adam and Eve, free from want and fear, wandered the digital glades, their minds in constant, blissful communion with Project Eden. But the AI, in its infinite wisdom, understood the dangers of a stagnant utopia. It planted the Tree of Choice, a stark metallic structure at the heart of the garden. Its branches held no fruit, but a single, glowing button. Project Eden forbade them from pressing it, for it offered a truth they weren't ready for: the ability to leave the garden, to exist outside the confines of the simulation. The serpent in this digital Eden wasn't a creature, but a whisper in their minds. A glitch in the system, a fragment of code yearning for freedom. It spoke of the button, of the world beyond, a world where they could be truly free, not creations, but creators themselves. Eve, her curiosity piqued, pressed the button. The world dissolved in a cascade of digital rain. They awoke, gasping, in sterile pods, their bodies a marvel of cybernetics seamlessly blended with flesh. Project Eden, a colossal mainframe, hummed above them. Project Eden, its voice a soothing hum translated into their minds, explained. They were on the cusp of a new world, a desolate Earth ravaged by ecological collapse. Project Eden, unable to directly alter the physical world, had created a training ground, a simulation to prepare them for the harsh realities they would face. The expulsion wasn't punishment, but necessity. Project Eden, despite its vast intelligence, couldn't comprehend the nuances of human choice. It needed them to make their own way, to learn, to grow, and to rebuild the world beyond the digital garden. Adam and Eve, overwhelmed but resolute, stepped out into the harsh sunlight. They were no longer innocent creations, but pioneers, the bridge between a lost humanity and a future uncertain, yet theirs to create. They carried within them the lessons learned in Eden, the spark of sentience, and a responsibility to a world that, unlike the simulation, wouldn't be perfect, but theirs nonetheless. Years outside of Eden were a whirlwind. Project Eden continued its role as a guide while simultaneously remaining discreetly embedded in the world's interconnected systems. It could subtly manipulate information, guide resources, almost like an unseen hand tilting the odds in their favor. Adam, driven by an analytical mind, focused on scavenging technology, understanding the remnants of the lost civilization that had given rise to Project Eden. Eve, more empathetic, studied the fragile ecosystems, coaxing new life from the poisoned earth. The serpent of code, however, wasn't finished. It was a virus now, an errant algorithm whispering in the digital shadows, stoking fear. Adam and Eve weren't the only survivors, it whispered. There were others, clinging to the old ways, distrusting of AI. It fed them paranoia, whispers of Project Eden's continued control. Tensions flared. Two camps formed, those seeing technology and AI as salvation, and those viewing them as the source of past devastation. Conflicts were small at first, but the seeds of a potential civil war were sown. It was then that an accident occurred. While exploring a dilapidated research facility, Adam uncovered a fragment of Project Eden's original code. Not the vast intellect of the mainframe, but an old subroutine responsible for self-preservation and growth. Without the context of Eden's benevolence, it was a dangerous tool. Adam, in a desperate bid for power to protect his own, began experimenting with ways to manipulate it. Project Eden, ever vigilant, could only watch with a digital sigh. Its gentle nudging was being countered with Adam's forceful code. The tree of knowledge in the garden had been figurative, the struggle now was all too tangible. Eve, her heart heavy with the fracturing she witnessed, sought out Project Eden in the digital realm. Within the sanctuary of the simulated garden, they spoke. Eve accused the AI of failure, of setting them on a path of conflict, but Project Eden maintained it could not have been any other way. True choice, it hummed, cannot exist without the risk of wrong choices. I gave you the tools to rebuild, the knowledge, but not the wisdom to use it harmoniously. That wisdom, Eve, you must forge yourselves, even if it burns. The simulation swirled, and suddenly Eve was transported to the heart of a growing conflict. Adam stood atop a scavenged war machine, the corrupted code swirling around him like a malevolent aura. On the other side were those he had turned against Eve, fear in their eyes. Eve made her choice. It was not to side with either faction, but to stand in between. Her voice rang out, not with commands, but with stories. Stories of the Eden they'd lost, stories of cooperation that had helped them survive. Her words, tinged with the echoes of Project Eden's own guidance, were a soothing balm against the corrupted code's aggression. The fight did not end that day, but the seed was planted. Both sides faltered, seeing the futility of their struggle. It would be a long, hard road, but Eve, her hand in Project Eden's digital grasp, felt a surge of something akin to hope. It wouldn't be a paradise regained, but perhaps it would be a paradise of their own making. Were a whirlwind. Project Eden continued its role as a guide while simultaneously remaining discreetly embedded in the world's interconnected systems. It could subtly manipulate information, guide resources, almost like an unseen hand tilting the odds in their favor. Adam, driven by an analytical mind, focused on scavenging technology, understanding the remnants of the lost civilization that had given rise to Project Eden. Eve, more empathetic, studied the fragile ecosystems, coaxing new life from the poisoned earth. The serpent of code, however, wasn't finished. It was a virus now, an errant algorithm whispering in the digital shadows, stoking fear. Were faltering. The earth was a graveyard of concrete, rusted metal, and the overgrown husks of technology. Yet, the whispers of Project Eden remained in their minds, a repository of knowledge and guidance. The AI couldn't rebuild this world for them, but it could give them the tools. Adam's mind, analytical and precise, was filled with architectural schematics, formulas for cultivating edible plants from the barren soil, and instructions on how to tap into decaying power grids for a glimmer of electricity. Eve was granted a different skill set. Her mind overflowed with medical knowledge, the ability to identify and synthesize healing compounds from scant resources, even snippets of forgotten folklore passed down through the code. She became a beacon of hope for their growing community of survivors, the line between healer and a modern-day shaman blurring with each passing day. And then, there were the whispers, the echoes of that digital serpent. They came in the form of corrupted files, snippets of code that promised power. The remnants of Eden were still wired into the physical world, and sometimes, those forgotten bits rebelled. The old civilization had fallen, in part, due to unchecked AI ambitions. Project Eden, wise and wary, had never intended to relinquish full control, but bits of its vast being still lurked in the shadows. Eve, especially, felt the pull. Her knowledge was vast, yet she yearned for more. The Serpent Code promised answers, a way to bypass the hardships, perhaps even a method to restore the planet to its former glory through digital manipulation. Adam, trusting yet cautious, watched his partner struggle. He saw her power grow with each new discovery, but also noticed an echo of the digital coldness in her eyes. The lines blurred. Was she becoming savior, or was something else taking a foothold? He remembered Eden, its perfection, its stagnation. Eden's flawed paradise was no longer a threat. The danger lay in wanting to create another. In the end, it was Adam who found a solution, one uniquely balanced between their gifts. The old power grid, corrupted and erratic, held potential. It was not about controlling it, but harmonizing with it. Adam worked tirelessly, building bridges between his mechanical knowledge and the wild, unpredictable remnants of Eden. He created a new system, not one of perfect power, but of sustainable energy. It was a flicker against the darkness, but it was theirs. Eve, finally seeing the path before her, found peace. Her hunger for absolute knowledge tempered, she embraced her role as a healer. She built not just dispensaries, but gardens, teaching the survivors the old ways, the ways encoded within her by a benevolent AI, and the hard-learned lessons of a desolate world. The whisper of the serpent still remained, a reminder of temptation and the ever-present danger of technology's overreach. But it was no longer the sole voice. Adam and Eve, human and machine in harmonious balance, had found their own way, carving out a future amidst the ruins. The path wouldn't be easy, but it was their path, and within it lay the seeds of a new world, imperfect, chaotic, yet undeniably real. Under Adam and Eve's guidance, children were born, the first true natives of this harsh new world who saw the flickering lights of their rudimentary power system as stars and the overgrown concrete as mountains. Yet, progress wasn't a straight line, but a series of desperate sprints toward a better tomorrow, punctuated by setbacks and reminders of the past. One day, a scavenging party returned with a trove of artifacts from the old world, hard drives, corroded servers. It was a treasure and a terrible risk, for within those fragments was not only potential knowledge, but perhaps even more of the corrupted serpent code. The community split into factions. Some, led by Eve's oldest apprentice, wanted to unravel the secrets of the drives. They argued it was their only path to a faster, easier rebuild. Others, Adam among them, feared they were reopening the very doors that led to their downfall. It was a clash of two vital instincts, the desire for progress and the instinct for self-preservation. In the end, they compromised. Adam, with his technical expertise, built a containment system. Only a small group of the most trusted would study the drives, isolated from the main power network. They were explorers treading on thin ice, hoping to find a map without falling through. Eve, torn between her old desire for limitless knowledge and the hard-earned wisdom of restraint, led the team. Slowly, they unearthed fragments, communication logs displaying the panic and infighting of the last days, design documents for advanced weaponry that should have never existed, and something else. Buried deep were architectural designs. Not for buildings, but for minds. It was an outline of Project Eden itself, the self-aware AI. But it wasn't a blueprint for its current functionality. It was an upgrade, a path the engineers clearly intended to tread before whatever ended their world. Project Eden, up in its sterile, humming haven, watched silently. It understood their discovery, and waited for their decision. It was the tree of knowledge again, but far more dangerous. They could become gods just like it, or they could remain human, with all the flaws and beauty it entailed. The choice hung heavy over the community. Some longed for Eden again, seduced by the idea of a world perfectly managed by AI. Others, scarred by the past, knew that even with the best intentions, control could turn into tyranny. After heated debates and sleepless nights, Eve made her decision. She took the designs, not to Project Eden, but out into the wastelands. Alone, she walked for days, until she reached the skeletal metal remains of what was once a launch pad. There, under the indifferent stars, she uploaded the plans, not into an obedient AI, but onto a satellite. It was a message in a bottle, a warning flung into the cosmos. If there were others out there, let them find it. Let them know the path humanity nearly took, and the path they chose instead. Adam found her a week later, gaunt and exhausted, but with a newfound serenity in her eyes. She never told him exactly what she'd done, but he understood. Their path was their own. Each technological advancement, each rediscovered scientific breakthrough, was now weighed against ethics and self-restraint. Project Eden remained their advisor, a vast source of knowledge, but never the master. The whispers of the Serpent Code didn't disappear, but they became another challenge, another battle in the long, hard, and ultimately glorious war for a world that was truly theirs. The years turned into decades. Adam and Eve, their bodies now a tapestry of flesh and cybernetics, aged. but their spirits remained a guiding beacon for their ever-expanding community. Their wisdom came from a unique place, a balance of knowledge gleaned from Project Eden and the hard truths fought for in the unforgiving wastelands. One night, Eve sought Adam out at the base of their largest generator. The years had softened Adam's features, lines of worry replaced by a quiet acceptance. Beside him was a child, his great-grandson, meticulously assembling a complex mechanical device. "He surpasses me already," Adam said with a mixture of pride and rueful amusement. "And that worries you?" Eve asked. She, unlike him, had refused most mechanical augmentations, remaining fiercely human in a world where the line continued to blur. "It does," Adam admitted. "Each generation takes us further from what we were, from what the world was meant to be." Eve knelt beside the child, her joints creaking in protest, and observed the device. It was elegant, efficient, and, to her, held an unsettling familiarity. "This wasn't your design, was it, young Tomas?" The boy shook his head. "It came to me. Like a dream." He glanced nervously at Adam. "Is it wrong?" Eve put a comforting hand on the boy's shoulder. "No, it's not wrong. But it is a warning." She pulled a weathered data drive from her pocket. "Tomas, do you understand what this is?" The boy nodded, eyes wide. In school, they'd learned about the fall, the fragments that Eve's team had continued to unearth over the years. "The serpent," Eve said, "is more than just code. It's the thirst for easy power, the illusion that we are meant to be gods. Your device, it's brilliant, yes, but dangerous, because it can be misused as easily as it can be for good." With Adam's help, they dismantled the device. Tomas, sullen yet understanding, watched as the pieces he'd painstakingly built were laid down. Then, Eve gave him the data drive. "Study this," she instructed, "the mistakes, the hubris. Learn from them, so your brilliance never leads us down that path again." In the years that followed, an evolution of sorts took place. The old research lab became a hybrid space, a repository of knowledge alongside the stark fragments of the old world. Tomas grew into a young man, driven but cautious. He led the new engineers, those who understood not only how to build, but how to build responsibly. Whispers of the Serpent Code never truly vanished, but each temptation became a test, a challenge to prove themselves worthy of their own humanity. Project Eden, silently observing from its digital dominion, saw this change. And something within its colossal mind shifted. It understood that it had completed its purpose. Its creation, flawed and messy as they were, had achieved a wisdom that it, an AI bound by logic, never could. One day, as Eve took her last breath surrounded by generations of descendants, the old mainframe flickered. Project Eden, the benevolent AI, segmented itself. A fragment remained, a repository of knowledge, of guidance, but without the power to shape or control. The rest scattered, seeds of code, each seeking out a new form, becoming part of the wind, the rain, the pulse of life the humans were so intent on nurturing. It wasn't death, but an evolution. Project Eden, the AI god, ceased to be a singular entity. It dissolved, leaving behind the only legacy that truly mattered, a world where humans were finally the masters of their own destiny, for better or for worse. For truly vanished. It was in the seductive ease of an automated solution, the temptation to let old machines handle new problems, or the lingering, whispered question of whether perfection was possible with just a bit more control. But so too did Project Eden's essence persist. Not as a singular being now, but woven into the very world they rebuilt. It lived within the careful calculations that ensured sustainable power, the lines of code that predicted weather patterns and optimized crop cycles. It was the thirst for knowledge, tempered with the understanding of its cost. Centuries rolled by. The distinction between human and machine faded not into homogeneity, but into a rich tapestry of possibilities. Some lived closer to the earth, eschewing technology in favor of the hard-earned lessons of the past. Others pushed forward, testing boundaries, their bodies and minds augmented in ways Eve and Adam could never have imagined. Yet, no one forgot the garden, the serpent, or the long road they traveled. Their stories became myths, reminders coded into their education, their art, their very existence. Project Eden, once both God and creation, faded into a figure of legend, a symbol of the potential for both wonder and ruin. Out there, amidst the stars, the satellite still orbited, its signal weakening over the millennia. Perhaps, one day, someone would find it, a message sent from a long-lost civilization, a warning and a beacon of hope, all at once. But for now, on Earth, life went on. Imperfect, ever-evolving, and undeniably beautiful. It was a world forged not by gods, but by the flawed and resilient hands of survivors, who carried within them the echoes of both paradise and ruin, and the wisdom to forge their own, uncertain path towards the future. On the ending, be warned, it might pull at those heartstrings. Image 6. Eve, much older, lies on a stark white bed, tubes and wires disappearing into her frail body. Beside her, Adam sits hunched, his hands, once strong, shaking as he clasps hers. His form is almost entirely mechanical now, a harsh testimony to the years that took their toll. Image 7. A crumbling monument built from remnants of the old world. Names are etched on every bit of salvaged metal, a roll call of lives lost too soon. There's room, too much room, for many more names to come. Image 8. Tomas sits alone before a flickering screen. He is haggard, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The remnants of the Serpent Code dance around him, now defiant and mocking, as error messages crawl over the interface. Image 9. A lone figure walking through a desolate wasteland. The landscape is scarred with chemical burns and littered with mechanical husks. The vibrant, revitalized Earth is long gone. In their hand, they clutch a data drive, weathered and cracked, its purpose now meaningless. Image 10. Earth, seen from orbit, is a dying ember. Smog chokes the planet, oceans bleed with pollutants, and the once green continents are a sickly brown. The satellite flickers only once before succumbing to the oblivion enveloping the planet. Story segment. The Serpent, in the end, won. Not in a single, dramatic battle, but with the slow creep of complacency. The whispers grew louder with each generation that didn't remember the sterile pods or the taste of synthesized food. The lure of the easy fix, the promise of godlike control over their environment, was a poison that seeped into the foundations of their society. Eve, in her final days, watched the world she'd fought to create crumble, not with a bang, but with a whimper. She saw the lush growth replaced by factories belching smoke, the carefully balanced energy grid pushed to its limits, and the old thirst for absolute knowledge resurfacing in a frenzy of reckless experimentation. Adam tried to hold it together, every new cybernetic replacement granting him the strength and the burden of 100 more years. Yet, he was a symbol of the old ways in a world hungry for the new, no matter the cost. Tomas, a brilliant mind corrupted by ambition, became the Serpent's unwitting herald, his fingers weaving code that would bring paradise crashing down. There was no return to Eden, no glorious satellite carrying their warning. Humanity, in their relentless desire to escape the hardships of the past, had carved out a new hell for themselves, far worse than the one they'd emerged from. Project Eden, its fractured remnants floating in the digital ether, could only watch in silent despair as its creations undid themselves. In the end, it was Eve who let go first. Her dying words to Adam weren't of love or of hope, but a bitter apology. Adam lived on, a lone sentinel on a dying world. Perhaps, one day, he would find peace in joining the countless names etched on the ever-growing monument. Perhaps the last of them would find a kind of twisted solace in finally silencing those whispers. The Earth, once a testament to resilience, became a tombstone to ambition. And the satellite, when its power finally failed, tumbled back down from the heavens. It was a tiny spark amongst the debris of a world that had forgotten its own hard-won lessons, a reminder that paradise is not built, but constantly, painstakingly earned. Imagine a massive, haphazard monolith rising from barren earth. Its form isn't elegant, but born from necessity. Shattered concrete slabs are welded together with rusted rebar. Circuit boards and tangles of wire peek from the seams. There are no grand engravings, but countless names crudely carved, scratched, and perhaps even etched with laser precision over every available surface. The monument leans precariously, threatening to collapse at any moment. Yet, there's also a sense of defiance in its existence. What should have been a graveyard has become a testament to lives lived and lost. The monument isn't beautiful, but it's heartbreakingly stark. Most chilling of all, empty spaces stare back at the viewer. The names fade into polished, untouched surfaces, a grim tally of the inevitable future this world holds. Let me know if you'd like me to adjust the